Okay, great. So thank you very much. As we have said, we are welcoming you all to this meeting. Let me find my presentation. Veronica, am I able to share the screen?
Yes, Karen, you would be able to. I made you the co-host.
Okay, just a second. Okay, thank you. So we are having our gender liaison session number 7, and today we are going to be focusing on applications of gender analysis. It's 8 p.m. in Vancouver. It is morning for most of you, except for Janet and Sister Yoli, who would be having theirs in the afternoon. And I want to be glad if we are all going to be full house. I want to welcome you all to this session. So we will start as we always start with welcome and greetings from participants. So maybe I will just call out the participants in, I have an order. I will call out the participant and maybe you can just say hello as we move through so that we can see also who is there. So Victor from Yapo, are you in? Victor? Victor is not in. Bedari, Samina?
Hello everyone, good morning. This is Sabina from Medari. Nice to meet you all. I replaced Rafat in college. Let's see what happened again.
Okay, welcome. CMS, Afzal? CMES is not in.
Good morning, good evening, good night, Karen. CMS from Bangladesh, Zakia Akhtar.
Zakia. Okay, welcome, Zakia. Then we have Spark.
Hello, Dr. Karen. Hello, everyone. It's Sabine from Spark.
Welcome, Sabine. Welcome. SSJ, do we have Sister Lucy? Sister Lucy, not yet. Okay. WDC?
Hi, Karen, and good morning and good evening, everyone.
Hello, Chanti. Welcome. Plavio?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I hope to hear a lot from people, and it was very hard to wake up, though. I was saved by taking children to school, so I'm here. Thank you.
Welcome. At least we have made you wake up early. Seradi? Seradi is not yet joined us. ADPP? Esther?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening for all partners and Karen. I'm grateful for another opportunity to be here and to learning more. Thank you very much.
Welcome very much. REAP? REAP, do we have REAP represented? No, not yet. CYO?
Yeah, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm Faith Joenda from Concerned Youth Organization, CYO. I hope to learn more again today. Thank you.
Welcome, Faith. Commerce? Commerce, I've not seen Commerce. I'm trying to scroll. Commerce is not yet here. Then Solomon Islands, Janet.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Karen. Glad to be part of this session for a very long while. After
Yes.
a long while.
Yes, it has been. It has been. Welcome, Janet. I think everybody is glad that you are on board, and we shall try as much as possible to do this alternation so that we can favor everybody, so that some days you have to get up early, some days some other people have to get up early, some days we have to stay up late, or some days we have to get up very early. I think that will help then everybody to be part of the group. You're really, really welcome, and we are glad that you have joined us. Have I left anybody out? I think I've gone through all the organizations, even if not all the people that are present, but at least one person per organization. Thank you so much. I'd like to move on to the next agenda, which is the feedback and the updates on the previous session. You remember we were looking at gender analysis, and the things that were reported as were learned and were good lessons was how to report gender-related work, also the practical way of looking at gender needs, and then a participant said that the quiz at the end was fun. And what can be improved or can be added on is how can we create programs to contribute to gender equality. We also wanted more practical examples of the gender analysis process. We wanted to know how to conduct gender values exercises so that we can be culturally sensitive. And we also talked about scaling up to involve government. And I think if we look at the things that we are saying can be improved or added, if we look at Girls Inspire and the work that you do as our partners, the program itself, Girls Inspire, is built on gender equality and contributing to gender equality. And so I think that when we look at our activities and our outputs, we are ultimately, at the end of the day, we are contributing to gender equality. When we are able to ensure that girls go back to school, that women and girls have livelihoods, these are things that are going to help them to become empowered. And that means that we are doing a lot for gender equality. So each of us in our own way is working towards that one goal of gender equality. We want more practical examples of the gender analysis process. I'm glad that that was raised because that is what we are dealing with today. We were talking about how to conduct gender values exercises to be culturally sensitive. And then our thought here is that if we are working in our different areas, in our different countries, you understand the culture of the place, you understand the content, the context of the place. And so even if all of us are working towards one outcome, for example, like when we are talking about dealing with discriminatory gender norms, the person in Pakistan, for example, may not do it the same way in Malawi because they have to understand what is the culture I am working with, what is allowed within my culture. And so what is it that I can do in that context so that I am able to ensure that the women and girls are being empowered, but I am not going against their culture, or I'm not going against the things that are already in place. When we want to change culture, when we want to change things that people believe in, we go slowly. We don't just suddenly come in. And I think that is what all of you are doing. You're working within a context of the culture that you find yourself in. Scaling up to improve government, we know that that is also part of Girls Inspire. When we talk about training government officials, when we talk about changing policies, when we engage with government at whatever level, whether it is a local government, whether it's national government, when we tell them, please come and look at what we are doing, how can you give us the space so that our women and girls can find jobs, can become entrepreneurs, can go back into school? And that scaling up to involve government is something that perhaps we will be discussing in a later stage when we are talking about advocacy, because we need to have government on our side, otherwise we are not going to succeed. Veronica, you wanted to say something about the Lyme survey.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, thank you, Karen. I would just like to, all the partners that we have with us right now, it's just a kind reminder of the importance of the feedback survey that we have on Lyme survey. because it really, like Karen was just explaining the points in terms of what we learned and what are the more new aspects that you all want to learn. And that Lime survey, that feedback survey really helps us to get to know what are the concerns and what are the areas where all of our partners want more information, more knowledge sharing. So that helps us really to know what we can bring into the next session, specifically focusing on the areas that all of you want us to talk about. So just a very kind reminder that it would be really good if everyone can submit us those feedback surveys after every session. So just a gentle reminder for that. Thank you, Karen.
Okay, thank you very much. And even if you're not able to fill it immediately because you are not in the session, just watch the video and then give your feedback on whether you liked what was discussed or whether there was something that perhaps could have gone a little bit better. So we encourage you to fill out the Lime survey. We also encourage you to watch the video, because that is where then you can learn at your own pace. Even if sometimes when we are presenting, you don't hear something very well, at least the video is there for you to be able to go back and forth on. But we really appreciate those who filled out the Lime survey, and they are the ones who have given us the feedback that we have from the previous session. What is my slides are not moving? Oh, okay. So I'd just like to give some 3 updates very briefly. We have the International Women's Day 2023 theme, which is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. So the UN Women is focusing on every single person becoming digitally enabled, so that we are not leaving some people behind, because everything in the world is becoming so digital. And if someone does not have access to the internet, have access to a smartphone, be able to use these gadgets even when they are available, then they are going to be left very far behind. And so the theme is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality, and I hope you'll be sharing on that in a minute. I had made a request for for training materials from the partners, and I want to thank you so much if you have already shared with us your training materials. We are trying to ensure that we digitize the training materials so that any partner is able to use the same training materials, customize them to their locality. For example, if I am training on human rights violations and somebody in Pakistan or Sri Lanka or in the Pacific is also training on the same, rather than having different training materials, we want to try and harmonize them and then digitize them and make them available so that no matter where you are and no matter what level of technology you are able to use, then your participants are working on the same material. That also helps in terms of when we want, for example, to measure how much are our women and girls learning. If we are using different materials, it's hard to come up with a measure to say exactly what the impact is. But if we have standardized material that is digitally available to everybody, then we will be able to also measure, are we making a difference? Are we using the materials that are best for these girls and women, or do we need to change what we are doing? So I'd kindly ask you, if you have not sent in any training materials, just send them in. Moama sent me materials that were not in English, and when I asked for, is there an English version for this? Within a few days, very quickly, he sent me very, very good, excellent material that was already translated in English. So don't worry so much if it's not in English. We can always find somebody to translate the material.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah. Then we're talking about the third update I want to give is on partner meetings, because we are coming to we are almost finishing February. We should be thinking about those of you whose contribution agreements are ending in June. Kindly liaise with your directors, your CEOs, so that we can start talking about the next contribution agreement so that we don't get late. This is not necessarily an action item for this meeting, but I just want to bring it to your attention that soon we will be calling for partner meetings so that we are able to develop our contribution agreements in good time. I don't know whether anyone has any input on, or I mean, any question on what I have shared so far. Any questions? Okay, I'll assume that silence is agreement and silence is understanding, but I want to just take a moment and ask Sister Yoli, would you like to say hello to us?
Yeah, hi. I came in late because I didn't see the link. I'm very sorry. Okay, but thank you for welcoming me. Yeah, I could not ask any questions because I just came in, but it's very interesting. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you and welcome. Welcome. We have just started, so we are actually just going now into the partners. Sorry, I need to go back a little. I need to go back to the partner updates, the third item agenda. So I'd just like to maybe take a small round and ask you whether you have any gender activity planned for International Women's Day. As I've shared, the theme is digital and it's on March of the 8th. Are there any specific gender activities that you can share maybe for just a minute? I don't know whether to take a round or just to, I think I'll take a round so that we can know what we can have a systematic way of sharing. So maybe I'll start with the way in which I read the names to greet us. Yapo, has Yapo joined? Not yet, I think. Yapo has not yet joined. So maybe Samina Bedari, you could share if you have anything. If you don't have anything, just say, no, we have not planned a gender activity.
Karen, we don't plan a gender activity, but we are going to conduct a rickshaw campaign in district Chakwal. Actually, the rickshaw is the most common public transport here in Chakwal, and it has a largest geographical coverage. So we launched a rickshaw campaign with the different banners, which includes the messages includes girls' education, inheritance law in Pakistan, and so on. So we will paste that banners on rickshaws, which roam in all the city for 15 days at least.
Okay, thank you very much. CMES.
Thank you very much, Karen. International Women's Day 2023, Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Recognize and celebrate women's, girls, social, economic, and cultural and political achievement. The International Women's Day is celebrated through various ceremony. This time the theme was Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Various programs are undertaken to observe the day. The program were rally, discussion meeting, quiz competition, debate competition were organized. First of all, arrived at around large rally unit and return the training center. The rally with various festoon placard and slogan. Then everyone came together and started a discussion meeting on the subject. During the discussion meeting, a computer trainer, a garments trainer, program was implemented with the participation of a large number of people from the area. Gender equality is people of all genders have equal rights, responsibility, and opportunity. Everyone is affected by gender inequality. Women, men, trans, and gender diverse people, children, and family. Violence against women.
Okay, just a minute. We need you to just share just one thing that you're going to do on the March of the 8th, so that everybody has a chance to share. So we would like to take just about a minute each person.
Okay.
Yeah. So just something that we are going to do on the 8th of March 2023. Thank you so much. So let's hear from Spark. Have you got anything planned?
Yes, Dr. Karen, as usual, we are going to have something planned for the media projection of the women issue in the community, as well. We go with the awareness raising of the targeted community specific gender issues, because we have a very diverse communities here. And for all of our training centers or learning spaces, we plan it as always we do. It's like another Eid day for the girls. Eid is a very kind of a religious festival, but I'm just symbolize it because the girl literally celebrate it in a way that they dress up very colorful and very elegant, and they make it their own. It's through the years it evolved as their day, because we used to aware them on this, because it's their day. They can have the fun, they can have a relaxed and leisure time at the learning spaces. So this is the highlight of the day, and we all enjoy it, seeing the girls and women dress up and bring up something to share with, to eat, and to just sit, and even the community women also join us. So yeah, this is the routine plan for every 8th March. But let's see, maybe we can come up something different, but right now I'm not really I can't share it. Maybe something near to the day we can have some maybe different activity as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Spark.
Yeah, I shared it on behalf of Spark, Sabine from Spark.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. It's because I had written down Muhammad because I was expecting. Okay. SSJ, Sister Yoli.
Yes.
Have you planned? Yes.
We have our International Women's Day celebration in our centers with the women and also men. So in the evening, we have it with our young women workers here. So there will be different activities, and it's more of reflecting on the theme, celebrating being women and being together, supporting each other. Yeah. So it's about the theme, which is embrace equity. So it will revolve around the theme. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Chandi?
Yes, Karen, we have focused this year the theme and organized activities related to cyber crimes. And we are going to make awarenesses among our women and girls on the cyber crimes, and also the women and children against and also we focus on online marketing to promote more on online marketing with our women entrepreneurs and young girls who have already started businesses during this period, to showcase the success stories. Because we have to, this time we are focusing to conduct our event in-house events because of the election and the daily rallies and the strikes on the road always. So we thought about having in-house sessions on these subjects. And especially we have another connection with the Monash University. They are trying to do a research on kind of the mechanism to meet with the people, especially to conduct session to women in rural areas that who don't have smartphones. That's only button phone. So then how to connect nearly 20 people into one session without smartphone. They call it paroling. So we are trying to, during this month, we try to introduce that and to see whether it is applicable for our countries, which is something we are excited to do. And yeah, that's our initial plan for International Women's Day this year. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Andy. Alok?
Yeah, well, for us as Plavu Uganda, we are having meetings, and we have a representative in that meeting, which is ongoing at the City Council. And we are required to contribute and support the program and as well participate. So that means we will have the girls and women from the vocational skills department rather, to participate on that day. I think it's going to be a colorful day here as well. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Seradi, Florida. Has Florida left?
Hello,
Okay.
no, I'm here, Karen.
Okay.
Thank you. Greetings from Seradi. I hope everyone is fine. Here we have planned two things. One, we have a special program through our usual Chumashanga radio program on Mutuatu Community Radio Station, where we are going to amplify the stories of women who have acquired the skills and how they are moving forward with their life, the benefits they have got from that. And on the same stories, we are also going to put the stories on our Facebook platform, where we are going to share with the global world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Then we have ADPP, Esther.
Hi,
Yes,
good
my
morning, everyone.
Nomzi has
Okay,
joined. Okay.
I was here. Yeah. Good morning and good afternoon or good evening to you, Karen. We have got planned two events. One is a community event where we'll have a debate on how to end violence against women and children and promote gender equality. And then with the girls in school, we are going to do a session on making menstrual health management cool, so that we invite boys to be supportive of the girls during menstruation. And we'll also discuss issues about cyberbullying, just to raise awareness. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you very much. Reap, did Valerie join? REP? No, she didn't. Okay, Faith? What is CYO planning?
We don't have much who participate to social media, posting all the messages. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dinalao, what is commerce planning?
Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
Sorry, I mean good evening and good morning, everyone. I have joined late. For Namibia, we don't have any plan in place, but we are just going to have the stakeholders meeting, all our stakeholders, including those that are from gender. So, and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, thank you very much. Janet?
Thank you, Karen. For us in Solomon Islands, especially in Honiara, the committee has been formed to plan all the activities towards that day. And some of the activities that they have agreed on is to happen during that day. There will be a parade through the street of Honiara, which is the capital city of the country. And then there will be a launching of the International Women's Day, where we'll have guest speakers who will be coming from the Solomon Islands ICT support unit. We will also have drama groups to dramatize issues relating to gender and technology. And we will also have stalls around the area where we will display certain information in relation to technology and how especially the important areas where women and girls can be part of. Some digital games will be available for people to try out. Some key messages will be going out during that day. But also there were a lot of discussion in relation to smartphones, because most of the women in the country have smartphones. How that smartphone can be used to be a learning tools for them rather than using it for games and FB. I think that's what most people are using the smartphone for. So some discussion around how the smartphone can be a good learning tool for them.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Janet. Thank you very much, everyone else, for sharing. And I believe that it is important to share some of the things that we are planning so that we can ask ourselves, how involved are we? But also we can learn from each other, because you may hear somebody saying, we are going to do this, we are going to do that. And then you think, yeah, that's something we can also do. And so it is good to share what we have together so that everybody can come to understand that people are doing different things depending on the circumstances in which they find themselves. And I would say that even if you don't have a specific activity that is planned for this year, you may have one from next year from the kind of things that have been shared by your colleagues. So thank you very much, everybody, for sharing with us and for helping us to see that there are so many things that we can do. Because if there is something interesting that I read, that nowadays there is no use of even saying that women have phones unless women have smartphones, which they can use for business, which they can use to launch their products. Then having a phone is no longer enough. It is now that everybody is needing to move from that phone to the smartphone, and then hopefully the technology that we are talking about, that some of us take for granted, that hopefully it can reach every last girl in the village. And that means also consulting with government, talking to the people who regulate even the prices and the availability of these smartphones, so that everybody is able to afford one, or that there are programs that can help people to come together and afford those smartphones. Because otherwise some of our girls are being left behind, some of our women are being left behind simply because they are not able to reach that place where they are digitally competent. So I want to thank you very much. And so I want us to move into the applications of gender analysis. Today we have a guest speaker. But before that guest speaker comes in, I want us to just look at something that is usually we take it for granted, or we may not really say what it is that we are talking about when we are talking about gathering data. When we talk about data that is used for gender analysis, we are normally talking about disaggregated data, in that we are getting data that is about different groups of people. And so I want us to think about these statements that I have put here. If we're talking about sex disaggregated versus gender sensitive data, what is sex disaggregated data? Maybe somebody can talk about that. What is sex disaggregated data?
Sex disaggregated data is like how many men, women, and disabled, or basically men and women and other LGBTs, and how many numbers on that.
Okay, yes. So how many usually we talk about how many men, how many women are there. So when we are talking about the program, for example, the program Girls Inspire, we always talk about men and women, boys and girls. So that is then the sex disaggregated data. But then we need to go a little bit step ahead and talk about gender sensitive data. Would anyone like to say what is gender sensitive data? Okay, maybe I'll take silence as golden. Gender sensitive data goes a little bit beyond the sex disaggregated data. With sex disaggregated data, we can say, for example, that in 1 year, we trained 500 girls and we trained 20 boys. That is sex disaggregated data. But then when we look at a program and we ask ourselves, what were the experiences of the people that came? What were the difficulties of them coming and staying in our training program? What is it that they have been able to go and do after they were trained? Whether we're talking about men or we're talking about women, now we are talking about gender sensitive data. So let's look at my statements. Number one is the number of boys and girls born in 2022. Is that sex disaggregated or gender sensitive data?
Sex disaggregated.
Sex disaggregated data.
Yes, sex disaggregated, because it is number of boys. So we'll say 5,000 boys were born, 3,000 girls were born. That is sex disaggregated data. The second one is a report on the number of girls who missed school during the term. Is that sex disaggregated or gender sensitive?
Gender sensitive.
Sex disaggregated.
Okay.
Gender
Different.
It's
Different.
gender sensitive.
Uh-huh. So this, if we have a report on the number of girls who miss school during the term, this report will have, we'll say 60 girls missed school during the term. And the report might also say that they missed school during the term because maybe they didn't have sanitary towels. They didn't come to school. So the report can have two things. It can have sex disaggregated data and end there. Because like when we report numbers to the Ministry of Education, sometimes we just report this number of girls missed school, this number of boys did not come to school, but we do not say why. So a report is sex disaggregated data, but can be used to describe gender sensitive data. That one was a tricky one. Let's talk about number 3, men's experience as primary caregivers. Is that sex disaggregated or gender sensitive?
Gender sensitive.
Gender sensitive. I think we all agree on that one. So I'll skip maybe to the last one just for the sake of time. The types of complaints raised in meetings with the security committee. Is that sex disaggregated or gender sensitive data?
It's gender.
Gender sensitive.
Gender sensitive data. Yes, and that is what that is our concern when we are doing gender analysis, that it is easy to report how many men and how many women came to a meeting. But it is a little bit more difficult or a little bit more important to report what were their experiences in that meeting. How many issues were raised by men? How many issues were raised by women? Were they the same kind of issues? And that kind of information then helps us to make a decision about what we are going to do in a program or what we are going to do in terms of anything, whether it is education, whether it is health, whether it is security, whether it is taking care of children. We are able to make a decision. But when we only have sex disaggregated data, it may not give us as much information as we would like. So now I'd like to move to the next part where we are looking at applications of gender analysis. And this presentation is going to be done by Chandi. Welcome, Chandi.
Welcome and thank you. I think both of us are going to do the presentation, right?
Yes, you're going to introduce and then I'll take over. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Only thing, Karen, I can't see the presentation. I can still see only the agenda.
Is everybody seeing? Have I moved along with everybody?
I can.
Yeah. Yes, we can see.
Yes. We can see gender analysis one.
I'm on the agenda.
I think Chandi, are you looking at my screen or are you looking at the presentation that I sent you?
I'm looking at the session. Let me check. So I haven't opened this, but still I can see only the agenda.
That is so strange.
That is very
Check your system well.
No, it could be the connectivity.
Yes, it might be the connectivity.
Okay.
Your screen may have frozen.
Now I no.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Thank you. Now I got it.
Good.
Okay. And so let me introduce myself first. I'm Chandra Tilaka. Everyone call me Chandi, and I'm the program manager for Women's Development Center, Kandy. And today I think Karen will help me to continue the session. And thank you so much giving this opportunity to talk about application of gender analysis. Veronica, can we go for the next slide, please?
Sure, Chandi. It would actually be
yeah.
Karen would be moving the slide.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Chandi.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have talked about what is gender analysis and why we are doing gender analysis in our work and in our countries in our previous session. In nutshells, I would like to talk about the importance of gender analysis in this framework. Through this framework, I have to tell that I have taken this from the Gender and Women Empowerment session that conducted by Dr. Damu, and I was one of the participants, and I learned from that, and I'm sharing that information with you all. So I think in terms of analyzing the gender and the gender-related context within our societies, within our communities, it is most important thing that to concern about the power. This gender analysis framework describe how the power, especially the power within and power with. So then we know that there are communities and people who are having power within themselves, and also as a group, as a community. So here we have to see what we can achieve with power. If we have power within us, if we have power within us, and also power with as an individual person, or power within as a group of community, as a group of people, so then we have power to make decision, and we have power to control our resources. Then we have power to demand for equal rights, and we have power to demand policy changes and do advocacy for the issues that we have already identified within our communities, and the discriminations and whatever we have identified in our community. So we can, that is why the power is more important. So with power as a core in this analysis, it's connect with, especially in 4 areas, that is beliefs and perceptions, beliefs and perceptions, because this is something that the gender discrimination, gender inequality is promoting, that in our societies, the beliefs and perceptions that influence access to opportunities, mobility and decisions, expectation about appropriate behavior. So you can see in this blue color and up there, the influence, what influence belief and perceptions in our lives. So when we do the analysis, we can see the beliefs and the perceptions in the society, how influence to the access to opportunities for both women and girls, and also men and women, and also other communities like LGBTQs. And so mobility and decisions, how it affects, and also expectation about appropriate behavior. So you know that our society believe that women should be like that and men should be like that, and that sort of behaviors, the perception on that behaviors. So then we can analyze how that affect for to take decisions, to take control over resources. Like that, we also can think about the next one, the institution and laws and policies exist in our communities, the green circle, that influence that's the institution, laws and policies. If it is due processes, education, employment opportunities, health services, infrastructure, ownership and inheritance rights. So our countries, our organizations, or our community, or our religious institute, or any place where the policies, laws and policies exist, we have to think how it's affect for the processes, and also how it's functioning in terms of providing equal education opportunities, equal employment opportunities, health services, how health services are gender sensitive, whether we have maternity care, whether we have prenatal and postnatal care services. Those are the things that we can analyze, this institution, laws and policies, and also infrastructure facilities, whether we have access for the disabled communities, whether they have access for all these services, free access to health services, education and public services. So those are the things that we can analyze within this institution, laws and policies, and also the ownership and inheritance rights. So we all have our own inheritance rights. So whether these institutes and laws and policies ensure that ownership of inheritance rights. So that is another area that we can analyze within this framework. And also we also need to concern about practices and participation. So especially for women and girls, their rights of participation. In that, we can analyze the time, space, and mobility, especially time, because we all know that the women, they are the one who taking care of children, and most of the reproductive roles and responsibilities are on women. So then, whether they have time for practice and participation for other social and economic and political spaces. So whether we have mobility for that, whether we have space for that in terms of participation in all levels of decision-making processes, social activities, religious activities, and especially for the economic and political participation. And also household and community division of labor, whether this has a conducive environment for women and girl children to practice and participation. And also participation rates in different activities and roles, which is something I think later we are describing some of the tools that we can use for gender analysis. So there we can see the time and the availability of how men and women can contribute for the different activities in our day-to-day lives, and also the community and social activities, which is something we analyze in this analysis. And also access to assets. This is something, again, the ownership of the assets and access for the assets, especially for the natural resources, productive assets, income, information, knowledge, and social networks. These are the things that we need to concern in terms of access to assets, especially whether the particular community, the women and girls living in that particular community, whether they have access for the natural resources, whether these natural resources are owned by one particular group of men or women, or it's utilizing only certain people. So then we can analyze, and also especially for the access to income and information, whether those information are available in all languages, those who are illiterate, whether they have access for that information in an appropriate way of accessing information. So like that, and also knowledge, whether this particular area or community or where we are doing this gender analysis, we need to see that whether they have access to knowledge, whether they have vocational training facilities, or whether they have schools facilities, and also universities or whatever, to access to knowledge, whether they have internet access to go for digital information, to search YouTubes. So then those are the things that we can analyze within this framework. All these things will give power to individuals, to communities, to take decisions, to control over resources, and also for the policy influences. So this analysis framework, gender analysis framework, describe all these 4 dimensions. So shall we go for the next slide, please? So then we will see what are the findings of a gender analysis. By conducting a gender analysis in a particular community or a village, we can actually, gender analysis will help us to understand the relationships between men and women, especially in terms of assessing the relationship make it possible to determine men's and women's constraints and opportunities within the specific context. As I explained earlier, that analysis will give us this proper understanding, and also division of labor, especially who within the household carries about reproductive tasks as well as economic tasks, or maybe social tasks. So not only reproductive tasks, we can analyze what do men do and what women do in terms of different contexts. So other thing is that we can actually, who has access to and control over resources, that also we can analyze through the gender analysis. It is not only within the families, we can analyze within the community and also country as whole, who has access to control over resources. That will reflect where the power is located, where the power is hidden, and then who are the decision makers who are controlling ourselves. So that we can analyze through the gender analysis. And also how resources distribute and who makes the decision. What decision do men do and what decision the women do. That's also within the family, within the community, within the institutions, within our social and religious institution, who do the decisions. So that will reflect through a gender analysis if we go through that framework and if we really can do the analysis. And what are the reasons behind these differences in gender? As nutshells, analyzing this, we can understand the reasons behind these differences. If it is differently affect for the men, if it is different for the women, and then we can analyze in a gender lens, in a gender focus, why, what are the reasons behind these differences. So that's something we can analyze through a gender analysis, and will help the gender analysis framework to do the proper understanding in a certain context. So I think, Kiran, shall I stop here and you want to continue the rest of the slide, or how?
Yes.
So thank you. After Karen's, I think if you have any questions, we can talk about it. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Chandi, and thank you so much for sharing the knowledge that you got from the Gender and Women's Empowerment course. And I think that it is so critical what you are talking about, that at the end of the day, when we are looking at gender analysis, we are looking at who has the power to be able to do things, because then that means that we are able to analyze, is it the men with the power? Is it the women with the power? And also to bring ourselves out of the thought that it is always men with power and it is always women who are powerless, because a gender analysis will help us to clearly see that it is not an issue of all the power is with one person or all the power is with one gender, but we are able to see where are their areas of power. So thank you very much, Chandi. I just want to, we just have a few minutes. So I just want to share with you just some examples of how gender analysis has been used. And maybe you will have the time to also go slowly through the slides that I shared with you. So I don't know why my computer keeps refusing to move. Okay. So I just want to read the name of the kind of framework, because Chandi has referred to the different frameworks. So the first one that I want to give an example on is called the Gender Analysis Matrix Framework. And this is a framework that is normally used by organizations. And they want to see what is their impact for men and for women. And so an organization like the ones we have, we want to see if we're having programs, how are they impacting on men and how are they impacting on women? We say we are having campaigns in the community. How are these impacting on men? How are they impacting on women? We are trying to ensure that women have livelihoods. What difference does it make in their lives? So the gender analysis matrix is concerned about 4 things. First of all is representation. Are we in our organization or in our NGO having both men and women? Because that impacts on how we deal also with men and with women. Do we have resources and how are we distributing them? Do we understand the conditions, what we call realia? Do we understand why there are different genders in our organization? Why have we said that our organization is for women only or for men only, or it is mixed with both men and women? And how do we deal with the men and women that we come into contact with out in the communities? And then once we have gone through an analysis of what we are doing, then we try to say, how are we achieving gender equality and do we need to change anything? So the example that I want to give is from Ujjivan Small Finance Bank in India. It is a bank that was created to ensure that small entrepreneurs are able to access credit, because we know that many times when you don't have enough money, a bank will tell you, no, we can't give you a loan. You don't have land, you don't have an asset, your business is too small, we won't give you a loan. So Ujjivan targets very small finances. And so they did a study, and their study helped them to see, they did a gender analysis, and their analysis helped them to see that women don't normally ask questions. They don't voice their concerns about things that have to do with the banking and with the processes that they are going through. So Ujjivan gave their women clients a card which has do's and don'ts. So it helps women to understand what is the complaint resolution procedure. If I have a complaint against an officer in the bank, how am I going to go about it? If I have a question, how am I going, what is the answer to this question? So instead of me having to speak, I have a card which tells me exactly what to do. Just like when you go into a website, you will find that there is frequently asked questions. And sometimes you, just by getting to the frequently asked questions, you understand everything that you are supposed to do. You don't even have to ask anybody. Secondly, their second finding was that when women were given loans, the use of the loan was reported to be by the female entrepreneur. And yet there is a phenomenon that is called women as client in name only. It means that when a loan is given to a woman, sometimes she is more vulnerable because she has to give that loan maybe to her father or to her husband. So she's the client, but in truth, she's not the one who received the loan. So what they understood from this is that the woman then becomes the one paying the loan, and yet she does not really control the loan. As Chandi said, it's an issue of power. If I am able to get the loan, but I have to give the money to my husband, to my father, to my brother, then I'm not in control. So their solution was to ask questions in a sensitive manner so that they can get data on whether these loans were actually going to the women. So in other words, they did not stop giving the woman a loan if she says that she's not the one in control of it. But they understand that the outcomes might not be as good for that woman as had been predicted, because when you give the woman the loan and she uses it for her family, or it is used by the whole family, she's still benefiting. But if we assume that she's the only one who is having the loan, then that might not be the best solution. So Ujivan, that was the way in which they used the gender analysis matrix. Another framework that we can talk about is the social relations approach. And in the social relations approach, I just want you to only look at the key concept number 2. And this social relations approach is simply trying to see how are people related to each other, that is at household level. How are people related to the market, where they sell their goods or where they get their goods from? How are they related to the community, their neighbors, the schools, the hospitals? And then finally, how are they related to the state, the government that creates policies? And the social relations approach looks at these 4 things to try and understand how is the woman or the man affected by their relationships with the market, with the community, and with the state. So the example that we can have here is something that we call Fish on Farms project in Cambodia. And the Fish on Farms project in Cambodia was established to see the impact of homestead food production of fish on nutritional status, on food security and livelihoods. In other words, if we ask families to grow fish, how is it going to improve their food security? How is it going to help their livelihoods? How is it going to help their nutritional status? And then in the long term, how is it contributing to gender equality and empowerment of women? And first of all, their findings were that there were inequalities in decision making, in the ability to influence decisions. How many fish ponds are we going to have? How much are we going to grow? How much are we going to sell? There was a difference in the sharing of workload. There was a difference in the way women still had to do caregiving. And then there was a lot of alcohol misuse and gender-based violence. They also found out that the community norms sustained the inequalities. Anything that women did was considered as light work. So when the fish farms were established, that was women's work and it was considered as very easy work. Women, on the other hand, do not respect men's caregiving capacity. When women are working on the fish farms, if the men were looking after the children, the women did not respect that and give credit to the men for the work that they were doing. Then women were also expected to be docile and to be peacemakers, even when there was gender-based violence and when there was alcohol abuse. So the project, what it did was to teach about joint budgeting so that people come together and they are sharing on budgeting. It encouraged men's caregiving support, trying to show the women that when men are doing the caregiving work and you're in the fish farm, then the whole family is benefiting. They also developed a nutrition game that showed how much does it cost to eat in a healthy manner versus when you're buying alcohol or when you're buying snacks or when you're buying things that are not really healthy. So it helps the families to see that when we eat this fish, when we eat healthy food, we are better off than, and we are spending less than when we are buying snacks and alcohol. And then also linking women to gender-based violence prevention organizations. So the gender analysis helped to see how can we link people to the state provided information? How can we talk about the community and how the community works with each other? How can we help the households themselves to have a little bit more peace? So that was the second application. I can see I've gone a little bit over time, but I will just share the third one very briefly because this is something that we all know. The Harvard Analytical Framework, which Chandi has also related to. Who does what in the community? Who is it that is in control and owning the assets? And then what are the opportunities that people have within that community? And so that picture here tells us who decides what to plant in the garden. Is it the man? Is it the woman? Is it both of them? And in many communities, you will find that there are certain crops that men are in charge of. There are certain crops that women are in charge of. And there are certain crops that both of them are in charge of. So that is the Harvard Analytical Framework simply tries to say, what is it that people do either as men or as women or together? And the application one that I have is Oxfam conducted a research in 5 countries. And what it tried to do was to capture different aspects of adults and young people's care work. Care work means how much are we taking care of family? So they tried to get people to understand over 2 days, what is it that you have taken care of for yourself and of any other person? So which activities are you doing? Who are you taking care of? And the first finding was that women spent twice as many hours as men doing at least 2 care activities simultaneously. What does that mean? She's taking care maybe of children, maybe she's taking care of an older parent. So they're doing 2 different things at the same time. And so when they're doing that also, maybe they're cooking, they're cleaning and so on, they're doing things simultaneously. And the solution was that when we have interventions in families, we need to think about all the work that people are doing. So for example, giving a family an energy saving stove, that is for cooking, that is care work, but it does not reduce the time that she is spending on taking care of children. So we have to think, how can we ease the burden for women taking care of children and taking care of the family in terms of cooking, and then overall she will have more time to go and do income generating work. Then the second finding was very interesting. They found that children reported higher hours of care work than their mothers. In other words, children are saying that we are taking care of people and we are working and we are cooking and we are cleaning even more than their own mothers were doing. But the finding was that this was seasonal, which means that children during the holidays, the school holidays, they will find they're being sent here and there, they're being told to take care of younger brothers and sisters and so on. And so they were saying that they have more work. But during the school term, then they have less care work. And so this analysis said that the solution is that it's important to interview young people themselves about their time use. We can think that young people are being overworked, but maybe it is because they are on holiday. Can we ask them, instead of asking the mother or the father? The mother or the father will say, no, they don't do much work. But the children themselves will say, we do a lot of work, and they will be able to tell you how much they do. So, ladies and gentlemen, because of time, I will maybe stop here and maybe just get a reaction or two for a question that anybody may have. I'm sorry we have taken a little bit more of your time.
Karen, Sister Yoli.
Yes, Sister Yoli.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, it's been a while that we have not been participating, and this one is very, very helpful. Actually, we are doing gender analysis, but this has given us a framework to improve on our approach and in the way that we would document, because we are more on the gender sensitive data, actually, looking at the experiences of those who are with us in our project. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Yoli. Maybe we can have one more comment or question.
For me, mine is not a question, but just a request. I realized that what Chandi shared was not part of our, the document you sent to us as part of our agenda.
Yes.
So I was like, could this be shared as well? Or maybe like of interest, because I am so much interested in this presentation. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. Yes, I will. And I did not share it because we updated it almost at the last minute, but I will share with you this particular presentation that I have just done. So, ladies and gentlemen, maybe these are just things that we can think about. These are questions that we can take back and think about. As Sister Yolia said, for example, they're doing gender analysis. There are so many gender analysis frameworks, and we need to think which analysis framework applies best to your own organization. And then secondly, maybe the question that we can ask ourselves, we collect baseline data at the beginning of activities so that we know how many women and men, how many boys and girls, how many persons with disabilities are within those trainings or those sessions. Now, how does it help us to understand the gender division of labor? If you find, for example, that your findings always that there are very few women coming when it is a joint activity for men and women, then you need to ask yourself, am I having my meetings at the time when maybe women are too busy? Or if it's only women that are coming, what are the men doing at that time? So these are not questions that we can answer right now. Perhaps we could have a round table one of these days and talk about them and see which gender analysis applies best to our organizations and how can we collect baseline data to help us to understand the gender division of labor. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much. I know that some people by now may need to be getting to work. And so I want to maybe let us just say a general goodbye so that we can, everybody's voice can be heard. And then I want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for listening and for being here. And we will share the video and the updated PowerPoint presentation. So let's just hear your voice saying goodbye.
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 Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, Karen.
Bye. Have
Bye,
a good morning.
Karen.
Have a good afternoon. We shall meet. We shall meet you next month.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you all the partners.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Karen. Bye-bye,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Good morning. Bye.
Bye.